Hi guys, welcome to Windsome Cottage Garden. My name is Hannah and I'm so glad you decided to join me today. We are in the cottage garden. It is a Sunday and that means that it's time to get a ton of random projects done that I was hoping to incorporate into other things, but they're all just going to go into this video right now, right here. If you're new to my channel, welcome. I am gardening in the 6B in northwesternish Michigan. We really deal with deer. We've documented a couple different things we do, but the majority of our garden beds are fenced to keep them out. We've built a border here along our garage with things that are deer resistant with varying degrees of success. Now it's reached a time of year that we need to start spraying, which we've slowly done a spray regimen. But we also get a lot of rain, and those sprays don't really last when it rains a lot. And we're just kind of trying to find the balance of spraying, planting things that the deer don't like to eat, supposedly, and figuring out what works and what doesn't work. Let me go show you a couple different areas and then point out some plants that we're going to be adding to this bed to help bulk it up in beauty and in deer resistance. This bed is one that I've said has actually been built in its entirety while I have had my channel. But since we deal with deer, this is a national forest. We are between a national forest and a water source. And this is our pathway behind the garage. It's our main way to access the backyard. And we didn't really want to fence it. So we tried to fill it with things that had high deer resistance or they weren't supposed to eat, with varying degrees of success. You can see on this end where we have a lot of Walker's Low cat mint, also known as Nepeta, that is loving its life. And the pollinators are loving that we have it. Look at all of them. It actually is veritably humming. That we haven't had as much deer activity. This is actually the easiest way to see it. This is a mighty chocolate cherry astilbe. We have 3 of them in this bed. And you can see that this one has been nibbled, I think, in like one area right there, but in general, left alone. As we get further along, you will see our foxglove are just going out of bloom. They look a little sad right now, but we are leaving them to put on seed and hopefully they will self-seed everywhere. This is another mighty chocolate cherry astilbe. And I actually think some deer came in last night and chewed on this. So that sucks. But they're not supposed to eat astilbe, but just because they're not supposed to eat it doesn't mean they won't. So what we are doing is taking a lesson about the Nepeta over here and adding more along our back. We added this one not too long ago, and we're actually going to be adding 2 more as we kind of progress down the bed. You can see this is the 3rd mighty chocolate cherry astilbe. I am hopeful that these guys will survive. It is now critical that we keep them going so that they can put on some new growth, which I've already seen some basil growth on them, and gather enough strength to make it through our winters here. But what we have done in a previous video, we took a Nepeta that was right here that was not getting enough sun and moved it here. So that is a Nepeta that hasn't been cut back. That's just been as much as it's grown. It's actually grown a lot more, I think in part because it's receiving a little bit more sun. And we're bulking it up as well by putting 1 here and then 2 along there. I think also what we're going to do in the spring next year is divide these a little bit. So eventually this whole bed will be ringed in Nepeta. It'll be really full, but it'll be really pretty. We also have right here a really, really sad rugosa rose that was put here in the hopes that it would, have some new life. And it is going to be torn out eventually, and another mighty chocolate cherry still be put in its place in another video. The other thing that the deer don't like that provides beauty are foxglove. So I managed to find some really beautiful peach foxglove at Home Depot on clearance. I bought 3 of them, and we're going to stick 1 here, 1 here, and they actually still have blooms that are just, some of it's spent, but they also have, all of these are just starting. So we're going to get a show with those as well. So we have 1, 2, and if you follow my channel, you know I like 3s. We're going to pop the 3rd right here to kind of help blend the 2 beds and serve as a really pretty focal point as you're coming around the edge of the garage. We have another astilbe right here we planted earlier this year that sadly is done blooming, but hopefully is building lots of beautiful seeds for us to sprinkle around. And I think it's still looking really good. And I like the texture. It's a different texture. It's a lot darker compared to the catmints, like mint sagey green. It'll be pretty combined with the ferns and everything. So we'll cut these back after the seeds have ripened and opened, and then we will leave it to its own devices. That's what we're going to be doing in this video, filling in this a little bit more. We are still going to spray, but my dad's probably going to do that later tonight when the breeze dies down. I'm testing out a new microphone. Tell me if you like the sound on this. Hopefully it's better than my old sound. We'll just have to wait and see, I guess. But well, yeah, so he'll be spraying it. He'll be spraying this when it's a little less windy later tonight to keep the deer away. I might sprinkle some keep away, which works for rabbits, to help with that as well. If we have time, I actually have 3 other plants that I was hoping to get in the ground, but I'm not entirely sure where they're going. So I have an idea that I need to talk to my dad about to see if he likes my idea. We'll just have to play it by ear, see how much time I have. As I said, it's a Sunday. I have approximately an hour and 45 minutes before I need to wrap this up and go inside and start packing to head back to the city, back to the 9 to 5 grind for at the end of a wonderful week at the cottage. So what that means is I'll just be going back to my home garden and get to play there. Anyway, let's get you guys set up and get tucked in, and we'll see how far we get. As always, that escalated a little bit, but let me show you what we got done. We're going to go in reverse order, and I'm going to give you the details I do have on the plants we planted today. The last thing you actually saw me do was treat this stuff with EDD8A iron chelate. Chelated iron is water soluble. We have some hydrangeas that are a little sad. They have iron deficiency, scoliosis, which you can kind of see from this. This is a key sign with a lighter colored leaf with a dark vein that needs more iron. So we started this week a treatment where we're just going to give it water soluble stuff once a week. It actually has already started turning the flowers a little more blue, which is kind of fun to watch. I am curious to see by the next time we do a garden tour, mid to end July, if it's going to be all blue. It's a Nico blue hydrangea. We also did some pruning and treated other things in this area. I cut back the spent. We have a bicolored salvia, which is a really nice one that's upright, doesn't blow over much. Cut that back. I took the pincushion flowers back. My dad dug out a rogue Houtunia. We also treated this mini Mauvet hydrangea, which isn't showing too bad of signs. Last year it was a lot worse, but it's got some, like, here's a great example, beginning stages down here. So since that's showing a little stress, we went ahead and treated it as well. It's just beginning to open up. That'll be exciting. I also gave a tiny bit to the wisteria and this little heuchera as well. You also saw my dad and I putting our wisteria back up. I can't really back up right now because I'm at the edge of this bed. But we had this growing up here earlier this year. Ignore, I haven't managed to get it all the way up yet. But this needed a little bit stronger support on this. So he fashioned some wire and, put it together using some fancy stuff that I don't know. And so we wound it back up so that it can grow. There is wire that it was growing on. It was just the support had broken because it's just twine and was moving a lot. So not going to move anymore. And that was all bonus because I anticipated doing the wisteria, but I hadn't anticipated anything else. But what I did want to get done, and I'm very pleased that I did, is we planted some phlox in here. My dad had mentioned previously that he wished we had more phlox in the garden because that picks up about this time, like that mid-July-ish, and it'll go through pretty this like lull time in the summer. We were watching another YouTuber's video. I think it might have been Creekside. I don't remember what their full YouTube channel's name is. She was showing a year 2 of their phlox they planted from Proven Winners, which is part of their luminary collection. They had actually planted ultraviolet, which I thought was really cool. But we happened to be at a garden center looking for something, and they had luminary backlight. I'm going to show you, doing this a little bit different than I normally do, the tag. Oh my gosh, you guys. The thing that I didn't anticipate about this is it smelled so good. So good. It's also supposed to have a little bit more disease resistance because traditional phlox in our area tends to get powdery mildew pretty quickly, and then you just have to cut it back kind of thing. But they're supposed to have a little more disease resistant. They're supposed to be a little bit more vigorous. I'm excited to see how it does. And it really took me aback by how nice it smelled. So we like the white a little bit better than the ultraviolet. That's more my steam. But my mom is definitely more the white. So they'll get 28 to 30 inches tall, and they'll also get 20 to 24 inches wide, and our hardy in zones 3 through 8. So very hardy, full sun. And we kind of tucked them. You saw me planting them from down below, but we tucked them right at the edge of this upper bed. Like you can see, there's still, well, actually there's a lot of stuff in a holding area for a project. You'll see it later this month. And there's some, more cutting back that needs to be done. This bed could use I think that 30 inches tall will be really pretty because this is a peony that's split. But we're actually going to be digging it up and splitting it this fall because it's too big to really have any kind of supports, and it just flops so badly. But it's a beautiful one. When this gets done, and we also have some lupins in here, when they're spent and it's time to cut back the seed pods and stuff, that's when these guys are going to shine. So they're going to help fill a spot of interest in the later part of the summer where there's a bit of a lull here, especially because this area down here, you guys know, we took a lot of things out. It's going to be covered in plastic for a couple of years. Eventually we'll be able to plant things there, and I see hollyhocks in our future. But until that time, this is going to be pretty. And you can see there's one already in bloom. Let's get a little closer. This is just started. I just watered it a little bit. But look, phlox has they're smaller flowers, but they are many petaled. I'm showing you this. This is what it will eventually look like. And I think just a nice little spot here, a nice little spot here. This is more flop than it normally would be. And a nice little spot here would be very pretty, not only from down below where you guys saw us, but also here. I kind of think we get down a little bit further, they're eventually going to grow to about right here. So there'll be a nice little pillowy white that we'll see around the same time as the pink, and it'll be beautiful and kind of draw your eye down and back and provide interest in a bit of a lull time. So that is exciting to have gotten done. I also ended up doing, I'm slipping a little. We need to do some work on our path. It's been needed to be worked on for a while, and I think it'll actually get done the next month or so. But we also beefed up the deer resistant bed that we talked about at the beginning of this video, and you saw most of it, but let me give you some additional details. Now, when we came at this bed before, we came from that direction. This is as we're walking in the other direction, and as you can see, The bees love this Walker's Low catmint. We also popped a phlox in there. We'd originally planted catmint there, and I don't think I got enough sun. Phlox can handle some shade, so we'll see how that does. I sprinkled some keep away around the astilbe, but we added this Walker's Low catmint. There's one we moved a couple weeks ago. So there's 1, 2, and then we also added this one as well. And then finally I added another peach foxglove here, which these are just so beautiful. Now, I bought these on clearance, and the only label they had was 3 to 5 feet high, 18 to 24 inches wide, hardy down to -40, which I think is a zone 3. And it is a digitalis purpurea, which is really just a common name for foxglove. So the peach, maybe I just happened to pick all peach colors and it's a mix, but we'll have to wait and see. Oh, we also planted one right here at the corner of this deer resistant bed that we did a lot of work on in a video earlier this week. We added this guy, and what it will do is it'll serve as kind of a welcoming point. Your eye will be drawn to it because it's going to be a bit showing in a time where this will have been spent. It's a beautiful show in the spring with blue flowers and the bleeding hearts, but those will start around the same time as they still be, probably a little bit earlier, and it'll be a nice peachy spike that welcomes you back here. You'll go from one, your eye will be drawn back, there's another one, then there's another one further along, so it kind of draws you down the garden path, and you can admire the many different pollinators and other things of beauty. I just wish we could keep the dang deer away from my beautiful astilbe. I think that's going to do it for this video. I know it wasn't quite the hodgepodge I thought it was going to be. It was more focused, but we still were able to get a lot more done than I'd anticipated. I'm glad that you were able to join me in this endeavor. If you like this video, please make sure to hit that thumbs up button and subscribe so you don't miss a moment of this garden's journey or our home garden, which we also document on this channel. I really appreciate you joining me today, and I can't wait to see you next time. Bye-bye.